Hi, so in the last video we looked at using the Steam Deck Gamescope Steam Deck installer thing that I built over the top of Linux Mint. And what that basically did is shut down Cinnamon, the desktop environment, and we launched Gamescope over the top, which, as you saw from the video, if you watched it, I'll put a link above, gave it a bit of a boost in performance when we were playing games. Now, one of the reasons I wrote this, I mentioned in other videos, is taking away that desktop environment, the sort of, the Windows layer. So you're not having compositors inside compositors, and you get to access the raw power of the system. And obviously, as I sort of stated previously, that certain different distros have got, a bad name for speed and stuff like that. But doing this, you're just basically down to bare bones. Plus, this installer is quite clever because I think it puts pretty much everything you need to play a Steam game. So if it's in Steam, you can play it, apart from anything, obviously, with kernel level anti-cheats. So what we're going to do on this one, we've got Pop Cosmic. Now, System 76 is, I love System 76, great company, and they've developed their own OS called Pop over the years, and they've created Cosmic, and Cosmic is written in Rust, and it's a new desktop environment. And it's, if it wasn't for a Marchi appearing on the scene, I can tell you this, I would be using Pop, because it's got a tiled window manager. It's got the choices, tiled or floating. I hate floating, so it's all there for you. And it's a really good, nice, designed, curated type platform. It looks like an operating system out of the box. It's got all the bits you need. We'll have a quick look. So yeah, and it's sort of for those of you coming over for Windows, if you're coming to Windows, it's a really good sort of middle ground. It's if you're a bit more advanced, you've got more things in there that are advanced, like Vim's already on there for programming. So do you know what I mean? It's not Mint. I mean, Mint's basically for someone who just wants to get away from Windows and this is their first step into the Linux world. I'd say Pop is the middle ground, and then you go to something like Arch or Marchi if you go into the keyboard world. But it's up to you. I mean, it's all the same underneath. It's all Linux. And as I said, this launcher is designed to just give you the same gaming experience on every single platform. So there you go. So what we'll do, we'll have a quick look at Pop. We'll install my script. We'll launch it, and then we'll do some benchmarks and see what the difference is. And then, as I said, the next video we're going to do Catchy. We're going to do benchmark Catchy, which is the gaming distro. I should do Bazite really as well, shouldn't I? So maybe we'll do Bazite. I'll do some benchmarks. I'll install Bazite, do Catchy, and then with my games launcher, we'll just see, which one really is the fastest. And I mean, I don't want to give the game away, but I don't think there'll be much difference. So I think that, that you'll get similar performance across all the platforms if you just get rid of the desktop environment, and you'll get rid of a lot of problems. Anyway, that ramble out of the way, let's dive in. Okay, so here we are in Pop, but the Cosmic desktop, so I call it Cosmic Pop. It's a bit weird, but anyway. So what you're presented by is a thing called Greeter, which is a new SSDM display manager sort of like login system, which is there. So it's Greeter. I had to write around this because I've never done Greeter before. So my session switching, I had to work off and change it for Greeter because I can't remember what the one on Mint's called, Light something. Anyway, so just basic login brings you to the desktop. Now, one thing you'll notice straight away, you've got, it's like I made it more Windowsy. It's great for Windows type people, but then you've got this, which is the best thing. You can do tiled workspaces or floating. Now, tiled, which is a key, so I'll just click on that one, brings it up there. Now I'll click on a terminal. We're sort of into the world of a Marchi, where things are all in places that I want them to be, which is nice. So if I open something else, what else can I open? Let's open a browser. There. So this is what I'm saying. This functionality, but I do like a Marchi because of my keys or bindings. I like the design better of a Marchi, even though this is great. One thing that they sort of let me down with slightly, System 76, they got rid of the giant robots. I had a whole giant robot vibe going on, and that was great. But anyway, I can live with it. So, all right. So in downloads, I've got my Pop Cosmic one, and over here I've got a terminal. So let's just chmod +x and drag that over, do the install. And let it go. Now, again, I had to rebuild this from different places. It's closer to what the Mint one was than coming from Arch to a Mint conversion was tricky. But this is middle ground because they're both based off of like a Debian. They're both Debian, so it's like sort of Ubuntu background and stuff. So let's go password, and it'll try and install everything. Now it's quite long, the last night's one. I've got to put all these extra bits on here. Let's see how quick this is. I mean, the thing that lets you down is the repos. If it bounces out of a repo, something like that. And the tricky thing with POP, some of the stuff exists in the repos, but it's old. So with MangoHUD, I have to do a local build because it's too old. Whilst that's trying to go away, I mean, we'll know. But just have a quick look around. You've got applications, you've got this nice launcher, office tools all built in, system stuff, iBus, utilities, there's Vim. And, you know, see, it's like a proper, you know, OS-y type thing. Really, I mean, not that none of them are, but it's very familiar, I think. I mean, you can adjust it so it's like got the panel in the middle, which is more, what would that be like? That's more like Windows, I think. That stuff in the middle now. Recommended patch libbim notify, yes. User input group, yes. Bootstrap Steam. So okay, so what this will do, pulls downstream. This is a better way of doing it, I think. Pull downstream, it'll launch it. I can log in. Get my phone ready for the login part of it. Now there are there's no caveats with this, but it's weird. It's a little bit slow on loading between bits. I don't know what that is. Maybe that's something for people like this, you know. Then I may do some more research. It just loads a little bit slowly when you're loading a game at the beginning, but once you're in the game, it's perfect. It's just a bit. I don't know if that's to do with Cosmics. Don't know. I don't want to point my finger yet until I do some more research. So this should boot Steam up. He says in a second. There's the runtime. Off it goes. And there's my thingamajigamy. Steam. Let's log in. It's rather large. I've got this unscaled out. That doesn't mess it up. Don't let me in. You know, I've scaled this to 175%. So I've got fractional scaling on it. I mean, this is pure. This isn't X11. This is pure Wayland. So it's not like old school. Not like Mint is. Mint's sort of X11, I think, still. Anyway, Jesus, that's gigantic. Settings, and then we just go to downloads or interface. Go to downloads, switch off enable background shaders, get rid of that, and exit. Now, somebody asked me on the previous video, how does it know where the games are? So what the script has got built in, enter. When it launches in the Gamescope session, yep. When it launches the Gamescope, so these are all happening at the bottom, aren't they? But it's exactly the same. If you watch any of the videos, this basically does exactly the same. You just click yes. Someone asked me why it knows where the games are. Because what's it got built in, it's got a thing that scans the drives, your system drives, and finds where there is a Steam library, because they're unique, and then just adds it. So that's how it works in Gamescope. You don't need to sort of like click around and add. You can't do it in Gamescope mode. You can't add a system, you can't add a drive. You can do it on the desktop version, then launch it. But I just got bored with that. So that's why, I mean, I like it, because I keep all my games on an external drive. So here we go, loading it again. Yeah, I'm in the wrong place here. I should have started that over the left-hand side. But again, it's just clicking yes a lot of the time. But what are we doing now? Putting everything in. Seems a bit cleaner than the Mint one. Here we go. Going to start to build things now, aren't we? Yeah, so this could take a while. So anyway, yeah, so just have a quick look around whilst that builds in. But yeah, it's put Steam in there now. I bet you've got Cosmic Store, which is, I'm not going to launch yet. That's brilliant. It's a Flatpak store that they've got. And I wrote a script, if anybody's interested, that allows you to install Cosmic Flatpak store on a Marchi. I may put a link to that above as well, because it's a great interface. If you want to use Flatpaks, really easy, and you can just install them. I mean, obviously, like Arch guys and stuff like that, we get stuff from the AUR and we install stuff like that. But there's sometimes you just can't be bothered, and you can just use Flatpak. And it's like, I suppose for people coming from Windows, Flatpak store is brilliant, because, or Cosmic store would be brilliant, because all the stuff they need is there. And you click it and it installs, instead of, you know, what normally you'd run on an Arch system to install something. or on this, if you're on command line, it's sudo apt install, isn't it? So it's a little more user-friendly for those people who aren't used to using Linux. Cosmic Text Editor, Cosmic Terminal. I use Kitty, but I'm sure this is fine. What are we building? We're building something there now, aren't we? What are we building? I think that's building, is that MangoHUD? Gamescope, no, that's building Gamescope. So yeah. Now, what I did do, I'm going to do another tab here. File, new tab, new window. Let that carry on. Can I move it? How do you move it? Oh, I'm in the wrong side, aren't I? How do you move a window? I don't want to just upset the thingy. Maybe you could do it over here. I'll show you afterwards. I'll show afterwards what I was going to show you. But basically, yeah, you've got all the Windows controls. I don't know them on this. You can flip the windows around. You've got workspaces. You can tab between the super keys active to do something. We have MangoHUD now. What's going on? Give it a sec. Here we go. Chimera. Session script. Install Proton. Yes. Oh, on the wrong window. So install GE Proton. Now there are, I've mentioned this, there are other Protons you can use. There's quite a few. But I use the GE Proton one. It just seems to work. A lot of stuff. There is something, but I mean, certain games do need Proton Experimental or Hotfix because of the battle eye thingy. This is going on quite quickly. It's a lot quicker than Mint. Interesting. Mint was quite slow. Global Capsys, yes. Session switching, yes. Enter. Yes. Now I need to reboot because I've done the NVIDIA mod set thing. So let's just do reboot. We'll come out, we'll come back in again. He says, now, as the same as the Linux Mint one, I've had to map the key slightly different. On Amarchi, it's Super Shift S. On Mint and on Cosmic, it's Super Shift G. So let's just go in there to launch the games launcher. I don't know why. I think there was a key mapping on it. That's the wrong thing. I've typed G. It's not. It's the test password Q. No one will ever get it. All right, so that's on there. So what I should be able to do, and this first one might take a while, so let's just do it. Super Shift G. Off we go. Let's see if that loads. It does take a while to load. Fans are coming up. And there we are. So, okay, so let's just set this up. Steam, settings, and then just go into display. Sub resolution now, because it's NVIDIA, it's locked at 1440p. But obviously it says it's decided mine screen's HDR, it's not, so I have to turn that off. It will automatically, and that's one of the things about this. I think if you do this to a desktop, you can't get VVR working properly, and you can't get HDR working properly, but once you do it inside Gamescope, which is its own Wayland compositor thing, you get VVR, all this sort of business, and so you get HDR working as well, which is important for some people, right? So that's that. So to set up the frame rate cap thing, you go over here, and then we switch on MangoHUD level 3, advanced, disable frame rate. Okay, and we're good to go. So I'm going to just get the games loaded up. I mean, they're on here, as you can see, they're on the system, but I'm going to just sort of launch them, and then we'll jump back in when I start the benchmarks. But I'll just show you how I do each one. So I just go to each one, go properties, go to compatibility, select all, and down the bottom is GE, and then come out of it. And I'll do the same for, we'll do Returnal first, I think. Settings, properties, compatibility, Proton GE. Now this takes, I mean, we'll try it. I was going to jump out, but we'll try this. But it does take, it has to download a few things. We'll see how long this, if it works or not. But it's probably more seamless me doing it like this than stopping and starting it. But basically it's got to install a script, it's got to install some background stuff from Sony or whatever. Here we go. There we go. And Doom will have to do the same as this. And then I don't think the other one does it now. What's the other one? I'm going to do Cyberpunk 2077. So they're already doing 3. And I think it was 97 was the score on 97 was the score on Mint, which is pretty high actually. I've not done any benchmarks and tested this. As I said on the other script, I haven't done laptops. I'm on a wired connection, and I haven't used an AMD card. But this is the previous script from Amarchi, which works really well on AMD. Doesn't work on Intel. There's a separate Intel script if you look on their channel for that. It works on NVIDIA. It does work on laptops, but you have to be quite, because obviously Gamescope's designed for one screen, and people keep saying to me, can I get it on another screen? I want to run my Discord at the same time. That's not the way this works. This is like focused on one screen. So when you do it on a laptop, you basically choose the screen, choose the resolution, and that's the one you use. And you have to be on the dedicated, on a laptop, you have to be on the dedicated GPU. Now, I don't know how that works on POP, because it's got sessions, it's got dynamic switching. But normally, you've got a muck switch, and you go straight out of the HDMI onto the screen. So you really want to bypass, what we're trying to do with the laptop version is bypass the iGPU, because it won't work. So it's getting there. When I did this yesterday, it was pretty chunky. It was a bit slow. So we'll see if this it should burst into life with House Marquee or something in a second. But yeah, so the next video I'll do Catchy. I won't do the install because there is a Catchy install. So the next video will be a benchmark video, and I'll literally put together the scores, and we'll have a think about it, because from what I saw from Mint last night, which was really weird, which was the highest score I've ever got on this system for Cyberpunk, which is mad. That is faster than Catchy. I checked, and it's faster than Amarchi. So I don't know about Bazite, but I might do Bazite. I may do a Bazite install and just benchmark, because that's supposed to be the games one. And the best Bazite one for me to install will be their deck mode. They've got like a home theatre mode, and we might try that. We might do Bazite and see what we get. But it's a similar situation with that home theatre version. For Bazite, it's sort of like stripped away everything, and you launch the machine and you go into like, a deck mode. So you're only talking to the hardware, and there's no thing underneath in the way. Here we go. And it was right last time we did this, MangoHUD wasn't giving me the right scores, so it does take a bit. This is longer. I don't know what this is. I mean, I haven't finessed these scripts properly. I've sort of done the conversions. I've worked through them in phases where I sort of go, okay, let's get session switching working. Let's make sure we got all the bits. So does MangoHUD exist on this? No. Let's build it. Gamescope, okay, we're in. Shader compile. So I've not done it before in here. So this is exactly the same test conditions as before. I'm literally going to run it out of the box, and then we'll test it. We'll just see what it does. 97 is the figure. That was 97 was Linux Mint. And I actually think that's faster than Amarchi. Or Catchy, actually. Well, Catchy might be 97. So who knows? Who knows? This feels a little bit... I'm going to say this. Does it feel as slick? It's the loading times a little bit longer. And I don't know why. As the Amarchi version, or even the Mint version. The Mint version is really quick. Very strange. Not what I expected. Here we go. Here she is. Right, skip. Let's just get into the settings. Okay, settings. And we want to be video 40p graphics. We need to take off that. Max frames, and just leave everything else as it is. DLSS, quality, and then run the benchmark. And this is what I did on the other system. We're looking for to beat 97. It does, yeah. It's taken a bit longer. But no, I mean, it's been a really interesting project for me to do. I mean, for the time, I like games. They're great. You know, I grew up on them. I've written some bits for them, like, you know, what they called them. When I was at school, we used to do BASIC. We'd type them in from a magazine called Computer Video Games. And you type it all in, and it was really good getting it to work. So I've got 130. So they've been all the way through my life. So even now, I mean, I do post-production work now, videos and stuff like this. You know, you're still drawn to them because there's some brilliant design in them. They're great fun. But as I moved over to Linux, I wanted to bring my world with me. I mean, I was on a Mac for years, which was a nightmare. I had to have a PC if I wanted to do gaming. In fact, having a Mac killed my gaming for years. But Linux has just opened the door again because I can do everything. I mean, I'm not too bothered about things like Battlefield or things like that. Arc Raiders, okay. Now that's a game. And a lot of them, you know, some of the Borderlands and stuff like that, they've been really good. And Doom, you know, Doom's a classic. And I went Wolfenstein. I went through the Wolfenstein ones again because I was playing those on the PS5 or the Xbox. Here we go. Remember, 97 is the score. Yeah, no, that one is matching up. That MangoHUD is matching up with the actual frame rates. Where on Mint, it was like half. So 97 is the number to be. That was from Linux Mint. I think Catch is the same. So let's see if we can do that. And that's quite high. That's on hundreds. This is exactly the same settings. You see, you've got so many different things on it. This is a newer kernel. And I mean, some of these packages are more System 76 specific. They may have a different scheduling, CPU schedule, things like that. There's all these other little bits that go on underneath. But the Catch is always the one, isn't it? It's like got the best scheduler and does everything brilliantly. Let's have a look. That's 97. That's exactly the same as Linux Mint. That's exactly the same as Linux Mint. There you go. That just holds up completely, doesn't it? It's the same hardware, different distro, but we've just taken away the desktop and we're just running Gamescope over the top. So it's exactly the same score. Now, I can't remember off the top of my head what Doom was. Let's come back to this. Let's do Doom. Whilst I've got you, let's do Doom. So again, we'll go to Properties. We'll go to Compatibility. We'll do that. We'll do that. We'll put it on Proton GE. Come out. We'll go Play. Again, this will take a while to load, so I'll waffle on whilst it's doing that. So I think it was, oh man, 85 rings a bell. 85 rings a bell for this. But the other thing to look at is the frame graph, because basically you really want it to be flat. You want a nice flat frame graph, no stuttering, nothing. And you can see that what you just watched is like perfectly smooth. 97 frames. That's okay. So it should be about 85, this one we're looking at. But I'll do Bazi as well, I think. So I just get the Grandma's Linux, as they call it, Mint for the people coming from Windows. I shouldn't say that because every Linux distribution is great. Coming over from Windows to Linux Mint, Pop, you know, you're going to get similar performance if you use Gamescope. And it's just interesting. When I'm really interested to see these Steam boxes come out. I don't care how much they cost. I'm going to get one because it's like, that's my ideal system. It's sort of, and SteamOS is my one. You can get more access to SteamOS. If they ever did it for NVIDIA, I'd switch. I'd have to do something because you can play your games. It's optimized for gaming, and normally something that's optimized for gaming is optimized for creativity. Strangely, that's, you know, if you've got a really powerful graphics card for After Effects or for Resolve, they normally work pretty well with a game. I mean, some of the Pro cards might not, but 5060, whatever, 5090 would be brilliant for Resolve, and it's also DaVinci Resolve and Premiere and all those things if you want Windows, or DaVinci Resolve for me. But you know, it's also great for gaming. So here we go, old Doom. Hopefully they'll bring out DLC for this because it's quite a good game. I like the whole shield thing. I think they did really well with this because it was different enough to make it interesting. That was quite quick. That was quicker than we did it before. Apply, continue, and then just go into settings with this one, and we need to set it to that, triple buffering, vocal sync off, make sure it's on DLSS, that's all on quality, custom, it all just it defaults to Steam Deck mode because it thinks it's a Steam Deck, it detects it's a Steam Deck. Max texture memory, apply, yes. Okay. Is that going to do it? It's interesting. It has. Extras, benchmarks, and it's this one. I think we're looking for 85. Yeah, this is interesting. There's lots of slightly different. Each one of these is different. They pause in different places. Like Amarchi pauses in certain, when you click between things on certain games. I don't know what that is. None of them are the same. It's not saying this is slower, but none of them are the same. This is taking longer to load though. That's definitely doing it. So I mean, Cosmic works, but if anybody gets excited about it, wants me to do more to this, I'm going to have to do some research as to why it's doing this. It's like that load up is slower. Oh, we're on there, 89. Look at that frame graph. Great. Small nothing there. Really bad. What's that? 95. It's Gamescope saying. So I think it's 85 is what it was on the Mint, and I think it's not 90. Might be 90. Well, we'll find out when I do the proper comparisons. Here we go. Yeah. Classic Doom games. I remember playing the first one. So I'm that old. And I was really, it was like, blew your mind. I know it looks ridiculous now, but it blew your mind. Playing those things. I mean, now look at this. I mean, this is ridiculous. It's HDR, beautifully rendered. Everything, the detail on that sculpture, that statue is insane. I mean, you know, the history behind games is fascinating, where they come from pixelated stuff. I think the big ones for me, the Half-Life, that is literally was a turning point in gaming for me. I couldn't get my head around how good that was and how immersive it was. That was just phenomenal. Underworld 1, the first Underworld, that was a brilliant game. I remember playing that. And then Underworld 2 was pretty good as well. That was the only adventure games I ever really played. And then Command & Conquer, but the original one was Dune. There was a game called Dune, which was the original thing before Command & Conquer, for those top-down strategy games. I really like that. And there was a really weird game called 688 Attack Sub. I was in the Navy at the time. And we play it, and to network it, you connected it over serial. So you connected two computers together over serial. One would play the Russian sub, the Akula. One would play, guy would play the 688. Yeah, those were the days. And the other one was Elite 85. It's exactly the same. That is exactly the same score. Okay, same again. Okay, so that's Mint and Cosmic using this platform is exactly the same scores, I'm sure of it. Right, so last one, Cyberpunk. Let's just make sure we put that on there. Compatibility, Proton GE, great. That's from Cyberpunk. Accept. So yeah, no, we used to also play. My original gaming world started with Jet Set Willy on the ZX Spectrum. There was a version of Zaxxon on their Spectrum, and we also had a BBC B when I was in the Navy. The BBC B, and we played Elite on that, and that was mind-boggling. I don't think anybody could get their head around that there was like a universe inside a computer that was huge. I think we were also limited in our thinking about games, you know, like because they were quite two-dimensional. I mean, they were huge, you know, but like Elite was insane. Elite was like this gigantic universe, and it was a really impressive game at the time. I mean, obviously the new one, that's incredible. I mean, I spent I don't know, a couple of months playing that one on and off, continue with that account. And I was very impressed by it. It's got a lot, and they brought it such a long way. And this obviously is one of the games I should have played and haven't. But yeah, no, fascinating. It's interesting. Games have driven computer development a lot, there's a couple of things in this. The military developments with computers. Gaming has forced computers to go forward and accelerate with the demands. I mean, it's the one that you see all the time. I mean, spreadsheets and stuff like that, they number crunch, but visual stuff on a computer is driven by gaming, isn't it, really? So it's always something people used to not take it seriously at all. And, but it's one of the biggest industries in the world. And it's great that it's also, if you think about it, it's pushing forward Linux. Because Valve brilliantly decided to not stick with Microsoft or whatever, they developed Steam. They could be free of everybody, with Steam OS. So that's a really good move of theirs. But that is the thing. That's the thing that sort of brought us to this point where people like me who worked on Macs for 20 years are now leaving Mac behind and jumping to Linux settings. Okay, this is quite simple in this. So video, switch off the frame cap. Graphics, we do one back, which is ultra, confirm, then one back, and it's DLSS. Right, so I'm going to click apply. Now, on Mint, this was 95 and 99. I'm not sure. Now, watch out for the load times on this. This is interesting. This load time bit is fascinating me now, why it's not working properly. And this is being, it's not a hard drive, it's on an SSD, an NVMe, over Thunderbolt, over USB 4, so pretty quick. It's being fed into the machine. But look at that frame. I can't move my mouse. But if you look at the load up, don't know what that is. But as I said, if people, this will be in the members area for members to play with. If one of the members chimes up and says, is there anything more you can do to it, I will have another look at it. But, the problem I've had with scripts I've written in the past, when I just push them out to the public, I get tons of people say, oh, this doesn't work on my system, it's a nightmare. And I spent ages fixing these things. And then, people just don't bother to come back to me. It's just so with the members, it's easier for me to focus on helping people because they have a proper dialogue with them. Sorry, it sounds really bad, but it just works really well. Now, 83, that's lower. That Linux, that Mint score is going to keep my brain going because I can't work out why it did that. It was so high. And I checked it. If you watched the video, I did it twice. 87. So I think Mint was 95 and 97 or 99. But normally this client chimes in on Amarchi and Catchy about 88 under the 90s. That's going to be 80, isn't it? That's going to be 80s. So when you use this, if you download it from the members bit, be careful because it takes time. Like that Super Shift G thing, it'll take time to do it. And it all seems a little bit slower for loading and stuff like that. Like 92, what are we going to get? Okay, that is exactly the same as I'd get on a Marchi or Catchy. So whatever was going on with Mint, which I may need to reinstall, but watch the video, I did it twice. Something weird was going on there and it was all set up the same. So that's fascinating. I don't know what that's about. I'm going to have to reinstall the whole thing again, man. Test it because I don't know why it's done it. That 88 is the score. That's pretty much what happens on any distro on here. And strangely, Cyberpunk 2027 doesn't really change from Catchy to Amarchi to Base Art, all of it doesn't really change. Okay, so as I said at the beginning, all the games are on an external drive. To come out of this, it is Super Shift R. Shuts it down and it should bring you back to the desktop. There it is. Okay, that's great. So let me just come off this. And there you go. So that is the Steam Deck Games Launcher for Pop Cosmic. So as I said, it's in the members area. Download it, have a play if you've got problems with it. As I said, it's not tested on laptops. I've only done it wired. It should work on Wi-Fi. Shouldn't be a problem. Multi-monitors, again, you'll have to do a bit of configuration. There's a Gamescope config file in there. that you can edit to your heart's content, set that up. So, you know, it's pretty good. So there you go. So that was quite interesting. It pretty much identical scores to my normal. I mean, this hardware doesn't change. So that's the same scores as I get with other distros using that games launcher, which is correct, isn't it? Because the hardware shouldn't, you know, the hardware's not changing. There's just a frame in it. You can't tell. So, but the one that's not right is Mint. So what we'll do next, on the next video, I think I'm going to do benchmark. I'll do this off camera. I'll benchmark Bazi and I'll benchmark Catchy, and then we'll just do a quick video with an overview of the whole thing. Anyway, I hope that's useful. I hope that was interesting. It intrigued me why I'm fascinated by people get so hung up on their desktop environments and say this is faster for gaming than that and all this sort of business. But underneath, you've got the same engines, apart from Catchy maybe, and the same power. So it's just getting to it, really, isn't it? Anyway, thanks for watching.